and I'm back with another live stream. It's your boy. Welcome to Just My Opinion podcast. How y'all living? I'm living swell. As always, rate, comment, subscribe. Share this with a friend, family, as well as a follower. Let's get this channel lit in the YouTube algorithm. You hear me? Now, I kind of wanted to do a live stream talking this about this merger. At first, Paramount bought the rights to Warner Brothers. Now, in the beginning, Warner Brothers was for sale, HBO Max, all that stuff was for sale, and Netflix won the bid, and I think was like in the upwards of 90 billion, which that's a lot. Well, 70 billion. That's a lot. That's a lot of coins. All right. And everyone thought that Netflix was going to purchase Warner Brothers. And then, like 72 hours after that announcement, Paramount has came in, and now they're trying to do a hostile takeover, and they got the bidding upwards to $100 billion. Now, a lot of people in the industry, in the entertainment industry, is not liking this. They're not liking neither one of these companies owning Warner Brothers and HBO Max. Consumers are not happy or not impressed with either or owning Warner Brothers. And I've said this on social media. I said when Netflix Netflix bought Warner Brothers, I told everyone, hey, look, you know what that means? Netflix is gonna go upwards. You know, staying subscribed to Netflix is going to go upwards. The one thing a lot of people complain about Netflix is they don't have enough content, particularly how much they're charging us each month. Now, since they acquired Warner Brothers and they acquired everything under the HBO Max umbrella, like The Last of Us, Welcome to Dairy. Those are their two biggest shows over there. They're doing crazy numbers over there. Then you had the Penguin series. I think they're going to have a season 2. They also own DC, the DC Universe. Netflix, got the bag and then some with Warner Brothers and HBO Max. And I told everyone on social media, that only means that our bills are going to be higher. Okay, I'm not being ridiculous. I think it's going to be upwards to $25 a month. Okay, maybe more. All right. Now Paramount has put their bid in. They're doing a hostile takeover. A lot of people are not impressed with Paramount because Paramount doesn't have all the money, so they have to get backing from the Saudis. The Saudis are also in this deal, as well as some investors. They too is in this deal, and if Paramount somehow, some way get Warner Brothers and HBO Max away from Netflix, then a lot of people are not happy with that. Okay, so I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be 1,000% honest with you. This is neither to me. Both of these entities should not be owning Warner Brothers and HBO Max, and I'm going to tell you why. Whoever owns it, Paramount or Netflix, they're going to run a monopoly in the film industry. They're going to run a pure monopoly in the industry. It may bankrupt the theater side of things, even though not a lot of people are going to the theaters in the first place. Everyone is really relying on streaming. And if Netflix owns it, they'll just say, hey, you know what? It's not a real good, solid investment to continue to port our content to movie theaters because we're taking a loss on that. we might as well just stream it straight from Netflix. Okay, so you're gonna have that component. It's gonna probably bankrupt the movie, the as far as theaters go. I know there's a large community that wants the theaters to, they want to preserve the theater uh, value. There's studios, there's actors, actresses. They don't want theater to go away. But if Netflix purchase they're just like a step away from no longer um, having big budget movies in the movie theaters. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing, Neil? How you doing? Okay, Neil. So that's one side of the equator. Um, I'm also a YouTuber and I subscribe. Thank you so much. Thank you. So if Paramount owns it, well, you don't have to worry. I think Paramount would still port movies to the movie theaters because they are heavily invested in the movie theaters. But with the Saudis, you know, putting investing into this deal, that's the wild card. We don't know how much control they will have. We don't know if they're going to have say so. Now there's been talk that Zack Snyder has mingled with the Saudis investors, and they're planning. And this is rumors. This is just rumors. Bringing back Zack Snyder's DC universe. Look, I like Zack Snyder's DC universe, but I was not that impressed with Zack Snyder's DC universe. I didn't think it was better than anything the Marvel universe was putting out. Batman v Superman. That was not a very successful movie. Man of Steel. I think that was the best movie. Aquaman was pretty decent. Wonder Woman was pretty decent. And I see how Justice League. I see how it would have, if they would have gave him time and did a part two on Justice League. Then you could see how the stories were going to play out with Darkseid and Superman. That was kind of interesting. But I like Zack Snyder, but I think Zack Snyder, as far as story and storytelling, I think Zack Snyder sometimes go too far left field with it. Okay, so and I forgot the movie that he made, Rebel Moon. Rebel Moon is a perfect example. Is when go way too far on the other side, way too far. I think Rebel Moon would have been a great IP. I think it would have been a bunch of sequels in it, but that needed to be tamed, that needed to be controlled, and they just let Zack Snyder just run roughshod on that, and now there's no more Rebel Moon. Okay, but nevertheless, the Saudis. That's the wild card. You don't know how much control they're going to have if Paramount. Now, in the rumors, the Saudis were supposed to be linked up with Netflix. Now the Saudis are linked up with Paramount. But either way, it doesn't matter. When you have these two big giants uh, merging with another giant, it's not going to be good for the general public. It's not going to be good for us. Thanks for the thumbs up, guys. Thanks for the thumbs up. It's not going to be good for neither one of us. Either if Netflix own it, subscriptions are going to go up. They're going. I think it's going to go upwards to $25 to $30, maybe more. Okay, or they may have like certain packages where if you want Netflix, you'll pay the regular price, but if you want Warner Brothers and HBO Max, then you have to pay a little more to get that package. They can do something like that, make it somewhat affordable, but if you get the cheapest package, you're not going to get the best content, in my humble opinion. I think Warner Brothers and HBO Max has better content than Netflix, just Netflix alone. Okay, so they may do something like that, but that also means that the future, as far as porting movies to the theaters, is going to be pretty grim if Netflix owned it, because Netflix is not going to be heavily invested in movie theaters, porting movies to the movie theaters. They more into streaming. Paramount, on the other hand, they will be heavily invested in movie theaters because they are already porting movies in movie theaters. Plus, they're streaming. Paramount has a lot of great shows on there. They have Landman, they have Mayor of Kingstown, they got Tulsa King. They got some very interesting programming over there. Now, the lead writer from Paramount is going to be going to Peacock, and he's going to be, writing shows over there. So we don't know how those three shows I just mentioned is going to change in the near future. But nevertheless, Paramount has some decent content over there, and adding, the content from Warner Brothers and HBO Max side of things, that can be very enticing. But like I said, they will be running the market. Whoever owns Warner Brothers, they'll be running the market, the streaming market and the movie market. They're going to have final say so on that, and that could mean ticket prices can go up. The movie theaters could be closing because they cannot afford to keep up with the Joneses, and the streaming, just subscribing to streaming, that could go up as well. So money wise, it's going to hurt us because they'll be running a monopoly because everyone else is going to follow suit. Okay, when you're talking about Disney Plus and Hulu and all these other streaming services, they're going to have to keep up. Now, competition wise, that means that Peacock and Hulu, Disney, they're going to have to come out with better content. But it is what it is. But to me, I don't think this is good for us. To be perfectly honest, HBO Max and Warner Brothers, they should just stay neutral. But I understand it's hard out here to be a pimp. The struggle is real. A lot of these, and this is not going to be the end of it, because Hulu is, Disney already owns Hulu. Okay, so really the only thing out there is Paramount and Peacock. There was talk that Paramount might merge with someone big because, they couldn't keep the lights on. And this is what happened when you have these streaming services. Now, remember when people were talking about how streaming services were going to replace satellite and cable because people were tired of satellite and cable paying those ridiculous prices, having satellite and cable? Well, yeah, guess what? The streaming services, if they're going to have the same prices similar than keeping your dish, the Dish Network and Comcast or whatever cable company you have. It'll be just the same thing. The only difference is you'll be paying it to a streaming service versus paying it with cable, with direct TV or whatever. Okay, but yeah. To me, I think they should stay neutral. Now the government is getting in play because they're saying, "Hey, look, this is going to be a monopoly. They're going to be running everything," and that's why this delay is so long because the government is not happy that either one of them is going to be owning this because they'll be controlling. They'll have the majority of the market share, and they can dictate prices. Okay, and everybody's prices will go up. Okay, so we're just gonna have to wait and see how all this plays out. But I wanted to talk about this, even though this channel is mainly about sports. I wanted to talk about this, to me, this could easily be a problem to us. Now, as far as Hollywood goes, there's a lot of actors and actresses talking about it, and they're not happy with this as well, because that's going to cut jobs. When everything's under one umbrella and it's under one wallet, you don't have the freedom and flexibility to just shell out money everywhere. Particularly in these dark times we're in, we're still struggling out here. Actors are struggling out here. Actresses are struggling out here. Studios are struggling out here. You just saw Warner Brothers being sold by either, I think Netflix is ultimately going to get this. Paramount is just delaying what's going to ultimately happen, but it's just not going to be good news for the consumer out there. So I wanted to chime in on that. Guys, tell me what you think in the comment section. And we'll just have to wait and see how this plays out. But anyway, it's your boy, the host with the most. I'm up out of here. I'll talk to you guys later. Deuces.